Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. All right, welcome everyone. My guest this week is Lois Kramer. And Lois and I met at a writer's workshop, an author's summit workshop, something like that. I don't know the official name of it, but you were speaking at it.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. And that's the first time I came in contact with you. And my podcast is all about talking to people who love what they do. And that was one of the first impressions I had when I met you on that. And that's the one and only time we met. And I just loved your sense of humor and your energy. And I'm like, you know what, there's someone who loves what she does. And so I'm like, let's have her on my podcast and see if she wants to come. And so you're here today. So thank you.
Well, I'm very flattered you asked. Thanks, Julie.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. So my podcast is all about talking how we got to where we are in our journey so that other people can see how it works and not be intimidated, et cetera. So tell everyone what you do and how you got where you are, because I'm really interested in that question as well.
Okay, well, I have a very niche business. I work with speakers, consultants, and experts who want to book more business, make more money, and monetize their message. And so when I started my business, I actually used to do some speaking to corporate sales teams, but now the only speaking I do is to groups of professional speakers. So I'm tight in that industry, and I've worked in this industry 20 years. And as I said, very niche, and I absolutely love it.
So when you did, first of all, what did you go to school for? Because that's a big question. And we're constantly talking to our youngest son, especially about this. Like, just because you went to school for X doesn't mean you're going to end up here. And sometimes you go for what you love, but it doesn't turn into the career you thought it was going to be. So what was it for you? Yeah. What did you
history. I was going to be a history teacher. And, go figure. Life just didn't direct me that way. Right out of college, I got into corporate sales and marketing with a Fortune 10 company and got some great experience there. And left there when I adopted my daughter and stayed home for a number of years, and then got connected with a professional speaker who lives about 10 minutes from me. Julie, I never even knew there was an industry called professional speaking. It was just an epiphany to me. And a college friend of mine actually connected us. And this would have been in 1994. And he was looking for somebody to help run his business. And I was looking not to work. I was looking to still stay home. But after we talked, he gave me a lot of flexibility. I worked part-time. And the office was really close to my home. So we decided we would give it a try and see what we thought after 30 days. And I ended up staying years. I absolutely loved it. And then a number of people would always say, I want to pick your brain about what's working for you guys. And the National Speakers Association asked me to speak to groups of speakers on how to run the business of speaking. And so I did that. And I started thinking, I wonder if there's a business in this for me. And so in 1998, I went out on my own and I haven't looked back.
Oh my gosh. So this person that you got introduced to from your friend was just, I mean, if you're not even, this is the craziest part about life. You're not even looking, you said you wanted to stay home and have a flexible, you don't want to work, but if you did, you want to be around your daughter. And this person introduces you to a stranger who you're not even affiliated in the same realm of work or anything. And this person says, will you help me do this?
I'll tell you, it's even kind of stranger than that, Julie. He called me, my friend called me and said, I'm going to have this guy call you. He's a speaker. He's looking for somebody to do marketing and sales. And I said, well, I wish you wouldn't have told him to, because I'm not really looking to work. So he called, very nice guy. And I said, you sound like a great guy. Never heard of the industry. You want somebody full-time. That's not me, but I wish you good luck. I think you sound like a great guy. We hung up and he called back 10 minutes later and he said, would you have lunch with me?
So he had a feeling about you.
And so I said, well, okay, but I don't think I'm your person. So we had lunch. I ended up starting the next Monday. And I told him, Julie, I remember saying, if the office is on, I'll work from 9 to 3. If the office is on fire at 3, I won't stay to help you put it out because I have to pick up my daughter at school. I wanted my priorities. I had my priorities.
Yes.
And
I love that you were being so honest. And he kept saying, well, want to do this? And you're like, no, I want to do this. Okay. Well, is it okay if you do this? And you're like, no, I'm not going to do this. And it's like, he just kept, he wanted
it was really interesting. His name is Shep Hyken. He's a very successful speaker. And he is also very smart. I could not have learned the business from anyone better. And that's when I started thinking, I wonder if there could be something in this for me separately, because we just had some good fortune working together and thoroughly enjoyed it. He's been very supportive of my business all these years later. I started in 1998, my own business.
Wow. How old is your daughter now?
She is in her, 33, 34.
Okay. Wow.
And I'm going to see her. I haven't seen her in months. I haven't seen her since last September because of this COVID stuff. She's out in Lake Tahoe and I'm going to go out there.
I've always wanted to go to Lake Tahoe.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Beautiful, I hear. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so inspiring. I love the main lesson I'm getting from this story is tell people what you want and don't settle for what you don't want. You kept saying what you wanted and you got you didn't even really want to be working, but you got this job doing something that you ended up really liking. And now that you have built a business around all these years, I mean, only a couple of years after you did this work with him. That's one of the things that I say often, in fact, it's my most retweeted tweet, Julie, is you risk a yes every time you ask for something. Are you willing to take the risk? And so I just said this is what would work for me. I would consider going to work if this is what would work for me. And he was very flexible in a time when a lot of people weren't. Mm-hmm. And, I just thought, well, it's so close to my house. He's being really understanding about this. We'll give it a try. And we both said, let's give it a try and see how we feel in 30 days. And it worked out really well. I was very fortunate. It was very fortunate. I never planned on having my own business. I never waxed nostalgic about having my own business when I was younger, though I was an entrepreneur. My entrepreneurism started really early, Julie. I started walking dogs at age 11 in my neighborhood after school. And then in the summer, they would ask me to watch them, and I watched them in their home. And that was my first step into entrepreneur business all those years ago. But I'd never really planned on starting my own business until things just started happening. And I thought, maybe I ought to give it a try. Now's the time to give it a try and see if it works. Did the friend that introduced you to the guy who owned the business, did he have a feeling about it? Or was he just like, hey, you're in marketing and sales, this guy needs someone? Or was it just like an inkling he had, this person?
It was a she, and she was starting at the time, an accounting business, an accounting referral business, which is now wildly successul. Mm-hmm. And she just thought, well, I know her background. I wonder if she's ready yet to jump in. Okay. And so it was really kind of kismet, that we ended up. But it sure was a great break for me.
It's awesome. I love stories like that. Okay, so you're working for this guy, it's going well, and then you decide you have this thing, well, maybe I could build my own business, and you obviously did that and you've been successful. When you were building your business, I'm sure it wasn't all perfect scenarios and everything went well all the time. While you were building your business and raising your daughter, how did you stay peaceful and happy and content along the way when there's always this ups and downs, especially as an entrepreneur? How did you navigate that?
I think there are ups and downs in life, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur, regardless of whether it's work. And, I would say I'm pretty fortunate. At the time, my daughter was still young. I think she was just starting middle school, like sixth grade or something. And my husband did not travel. And so it was look, I would call home and they would be having more fun than I was having if I was traveling. So, but it just worked out incredibly well. I really didn't have a lot of trials. I got some incredible breaks very early in my business. I think it was the third or fourth year I was in business. Then I started being asked to present at National Speakers Association, national meetings kind of regularly. And one of the first times on my own, sitting in the front row, and I had no idea at the time, was the VP of Jack Canfield's company. And about a week after I got back from the convention, Jack Canfield called me. And I thought it was a friend of mine punking me, really. And he said, my VP was there and she thinks I had to bring you out here to Santa Barbara to work with us. And I did. And he gave me an incredible testimonial. And so I was very lucky. I was able to leverage that early on in my business. And he was very helpful to me early in my business.
That is an awesome break, but when you're dismissing it as I got incredible breaks, like you got lucky, of course, this person's sitting there, but you were there, you put yourself there, it
was a great opportunity to present in front. Look, whenever I present to speakers, I'm presenting to my target market. And if I do a good program and they think she seems to know what she's talking about, I think when they need help, I might be the one they're going to call. And this is the way I market now. And it's worked very well for me. It's worked very, very well for me.
That's awesome. And if you hadn't been there, you wouldn't have been able to meet the VP of Jack Canfield's organization, just speaking there, and someone asked you to speak there, but you had to say yes, of course. And you wouldn't have even been able to say yes if you hadn't been working for that gentleman when he first kind of.
Absolutely right. It's all of these things.
Yeah. You just there's yes, but no, and yes, but here's my parameters. Yeah, or no, but you just kept being true to yourself. And then he kept coming back to you and saying, well, I want to, let's do this anyway. Let's see how this works.
Well, it was interesting because I wasn't really looking for a job. I was threatening to look. I would say to my husband, well, if something comes up part-time, I might take it. Never thinking that something would come up part-time and I'd take it at that point at her age. But this was just too good not to take. And I thought it was interesting. And I knew I wanted to go back to work at some point. And, I thought, well, this will be a good tweener for me. And so, but that tweener ended up being my career.
That's amazing. Okay. So what advice do you have for people that are searching for meaningful work? So people that whether they're in their 20s or their 50s, realizing I want to do something different with my life and my career. What do you tell those people when you get asked? I'm sure you get asked doing the kind of work you're doing, probably more so than other people. What do you say to people that say, I want to do something really meaningful and purposeful and helping people? And what do you say to them?
I think it's for people who are looking for a change at any point, whether they're in their 20s or their 60s or beyond. It's good to take an kind of a career interest test, which you can take at any community college. Many high schools even have them. Adult ed classes have them, and see where your talents lie. If you already know, then you've just got to see, is this the time for me to make a move to take an opportunity to do this? I get asked all the time by people who say, I want to be a speaker, and I'll tell you, so much so, Julie, that I created years ago, and I've got cassettes down in my basement, that's how long ago it was, of a program I created called From Go to Pro, How to Get Started in Speaking. And it was 45 minutes of me giving you every reason not to do this for a living. And
really?
Yes, because it's very, very hard. A lot of people think this is easy. You get paid well to work for an hour on a platform.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize when they start out, they're spending 99% of their time selling and 1% of their time on the platform presenting. Yeah. And then, the percentages change as the years go, but it's a very hard business. You have to be really, you have to be able to light a fire under yourself, be self-motivated, and you have to be great at selling as well as presenting.
Right.
And that's really the part of the business that I do. I don't help people write speeches. I don't tell people what they ought to speak on. I don't tell people how to speak, presentation skills. I'm all about, if you have all of that, you come to me and I'll help you make money with it. I'll show you how to make money with it. So there are different skill sets involved, typically in any job you're going to take. In this one, you want to be able to present, you want to be able to do it comfortably, but you also need to be able to sell, because if you can't, you may have the best message in the world, but it will go unheard because you won't get an opportunity.
Do you think so? If someone didn't want to be in a speaking business and they just wanted to get a really good job or whatever, using their strengths at a corporation, they really do have to sell a little bit. Obviously, it's not 99%
Absolutely.
of what they're doing, but that's one thing I think it's not really taught, especially to younger people, that you're going to have to be able to talk to people about what you do, why you do it, why you're good at it, why you're different. And if you can't get comfortable with that early, you're going to struggle a lot, because you can say,
I think so.
Right?
Yeah. We're all in sales. And looking for a job is selling yourself. You're the product. And I think a great place for people to learn how to be comfortable in talking about themselves is Toastmasters. Toastmasters, I call the off-Broadway of speaking. I have many friends who would never miss a Toastmaster meeting because they like to try out new material there. But Toastmasters is a great place to learn to be comfortable in your own skin when presenting. And it's not just speeches. It can be an executive leader. There are lots of high-level execs in corporations who go to Toastmasters to learn how to communicate better with their employees and how to always put their best foot forward. And I had talked to someone years ago at Toastmasters, and I said, I wish that there were Toastmaster classes for high school kids.
I was just thinking the same thing, like college kids and high school kids, like get comfortable standing up and
Wouldn't
talking
it be great?
to people. Yeah. Yes.
And even interview, how you interview to get into college now, an entrance exam.
Yeah.
I think when you learn how to talk about yourself, it can be a real gift. And it's an absolutely must have if you're going to be in my industry.
Yeah. I love that idea. That'd be so cool to have.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Because those skills of presentation, talking about yourself, it's also relating to people and eye contact and all of those things that are part of speaking, obviously, but part of other people being comfortable around you. And if you're awkward and you can't speak, whatever it is about what you do, whether it's technical or not, you're not going to be able to relay your skills well and your experience. And all
absolutely right. Even in writing, even if you have, if you're able to really have a good thought pattern in communicating, which is not just verbal, but written. I think that it helps you. I think Toastmasters, I always recommend it for people who are interested in speaking, because it's a great place to get started for little money and be around people who want to learn how to do this. Yeah. But for kids, I think it's essential. I mean, one of the graduation gift I gave to my daughter in high school and all of her friends, and I did the same thing to her friends in college, was the book, How to Influence People, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because it really is the communication skills that you bring and that you have are going to work for you your entire life long. And so I think it's incredibly important whether you're going to do this professionally. Some people just speak to promote their business. However you might do it. You might be working for a company and you are a member of a chamber of commerce. To be able to speak when somebody says, tell me about your business, to be able to position your business in a favorable way in front of people who could be buyers is an absolutely incredible gift. So I think it's very, very important. But speaking for fee it's a tough job. Now, obviously, I think it's been good to me and I love this business. But I never want anybody to come to me, Julie, at the end of their life at the pearly gates, and they're going to say, Lois, you told me that this would be a good idea, and it wasn't a good idea at all. It was too hard. I want people to realize it is not easy in any way. Right.
Smart. And you're just, if they don't know it, I mean, it's It's not a you being negative. It's just being realistic and saying like, here's
Yes.
everything involved in it. You're only seeing 1% of what happens in this industry and business. You're not seeing all the rest of it. I'm going to show you and tell you about all the rest of it and help you with it. But it's not just what you're seeing. It's just like acting, just like anything.
That's absolutely right. I mean, people in an audience don't know the preparation that went into this. Right. What I had to do to speak to the person who made the decision to ultimately bring me in. Right. The experience that I bring to what I do, the years of experience that I bring, they have no idea, and they should not. Right. What they want to experience is, what do you have for me today that will apply to me and is valuable for me? And so that I have to bring. The hard work that got me there, they don't need to know. But anybody who wants to do this for a living does need to know.
I'm thinking about, as you're talking, I'm thinking about how it relates to sports, obviously to entertainment, to writing songs and movie, being an actor, all of that stuff. It's like, you're just seeing the end performance.
Yes, you're right.
The baseball game, seeing the hitter up at the plate, hitting a home run or not getting on base, whatever it is. You don't see all of the hours that went into training that week, and what they had to eat and what they had to sacrifice, and all of the mind work they're doing, everything they're doing to put into that moment or that hour or whatever it is, or 15 minutes. You don't get to see any of that. And you just say, wow, must be nice. Or it's like, oh my gosh, no, there's so much that went into all of building up to all that. And no one considers that when they're in the moment, but they want to know, what do you have for me today?
You're absolutely right. I remember when I first started my business, I was fortunate to get into a little mastermind group of some very successful people in St. Louis who were speakers. And I was tickled to death they invited me in. And I remember going to my first meeting and saying, hey, I'm just starting. I don't even know what to charge. This was in 1998. And one of them said to me, well, you ought to at least charge $50 an hour. And I remember thinking, Julie, $50 an hour? I would have to put pantyhose over my face and have a gun in my hand to get $50 an hour. And so I said, well, okay. So I ventured out, and back then, email was the big thing. We didn't have social media. So I emailed everybody I'd ever met who was a speaker. And I said, I'm offering my services for $50 an hour. And people took me up on it. And I remember going back to my next monthly meeting, and I said, incredibly, I didn't have to have pantyhose over my face and a gun in my hand. Some people took me up on it. And then they said, okay, then you're $75 an hour. I mean, they kept doing this.
Yes.
And, it's really interesting. Running an intellectual property business, which is what speaking and consulting is, one of the things we have to do is decide what we're going to charge. Mm-hmm. What do we charge for the value of our information in a specific market? Mm-hmm. And so it's always one of those leaps of faith, I think, when you assign a number to it. But I will never forget sitting at a dining room table at a friend's here in St. Louis. When they said $50 an hour, I thought, nobody's going to pay me $50 an hour. It's
so funny because it's such a low number. But back then you were like, $50. Wow.
Back then,
like,
oh my God.
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
One time I was doing a workshop for one of my past jobs, and we were trying to get a speaker. And I'm like, I'm just going to contact the author and see if they'd come to our corporation and speak for an hour. And I contacted them. There's some PR person got back to me, and I said, we'd like to have them on, just a virtual thing. We're not going to travel anywhere. Everyone will be online. It's a global company. We're going to be all over the world. It's $25,000.
Yeah.
And I paused and I said, I think I don't know if I was on the phone or an email. And I said, I thought he misunderstood me. No, we're not. No, this is not a live session. This is not a platform. This is just going to be on the phone. They won't have to travel anywhere. We're just going to invite them to the meeting, and they're going to speak a webinar. Oh yeah, we know if you wanted him to come, it would be $50,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, $25,000. I just remember thinking like, but he was an author, and he was obviously, he's obviously charging this because people pay it. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And it really woke me up like to this. Oh, there's people out there.
In essence, in an intellectual property business, the market will tell you whether you're priced right. Mm-hmm. If you're not working, you're probably not priced right. Or something else is there's some big problem somewhere else. Yeah. If you're overly busy, you're probably not asking enough.
You're not asking enough.
And one of the things I've found in working with speakers all these years is that typically the speaker is very conservative about their fees and often undervalues what they do, as confident as they might look on the platform. They're very conservative.
Yes.
And I think it has a lot to do with rejection. You don't want to be rejected.
Right.
But what you have to consider is, what is the value that I bring to this organization? What kind of ideas, tactics, and techniques are they going to be doing differently as a result of hearing me?
Yeah.
That is going to increase their profits, their productivity, their engagement, or their shareholder value. And then you've got to think, I've got to put a price on this.
Yeah.
And after you've done it for a while, you see what kind of changes. People will let you know what kind of changes within an organization that you make.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how you look at pricing. It's a very nebulous thing. It's not an easy thing to decide.
Oh.
But if you don't, people will undervalue you.
Right.
If you don't put a price on it and let them decide what to pay, believe me, it'll be $50 an hour.
Yeah, it's a big lesson I learned then, and just throughout my later in my career, just about the value. And I think women, I know there's all kinds of studies about this, that we tend to undervalue it anyways, and men will ask for this, and we'll ask for this, and we get paid less because we ask for less and we settle for less.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And back when I was speaking on sales, there weren't a whole lot of women speaking on sales.
Yeah.
And in fact, I remember being hired to do an association meeting in Las Vegas, and there were going to be about 300 people there in this breakout room. And because I do some pre-work, I knew that it was going to be predominantly men. This was a male-dominated industry. I was introduced, I walked out, there were 298 men, one woman in the audience, and then me.
Oh my gosh.
And Julie, every one of those men was like this.
I was just picturing them.
And what they're thinking is, what does this chick, and I knew they were thinking this, what does this chick have to share with me? And what I actually did was I said, I'll be with you in a minute. And I stepped off the platform and I walked up to the first bank of tables, and they had big pitchers of water. And I took a napkin, I dipped it into the water, and I said, I was still mic'd. And I said, I'll be with everybody in just a minute. Then I rinsed out the napkin. I took it back on stage with me and I started mopping my brow. And I said, you gentlemen are going to have to excuse me. I'm having major hot flashes today. And I bet I have enough estrogen coursing through my veins to counteract all the testosterone looking at me with their arms crossed right now.
What did they say?
Everybody laughed and arms went down, and we were in it together.
Oh my God. Did you know you were going to make a joke like that? Or did you?
Well, I knew I had to do something. I wasn't sure it was going to be skewed quite that many, but when it was that many, there was one woman in the audience. And a woman had hired me for this, which is interesting. She wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I knew I had to do something to kind of break this, break this thinking. And it worked well, because then everybody laughed and people were with me. And it worked.
You're just
really
calling
well.
out the obvious, and you have to do it with the sense of humor. Yeah.
I always, I think a sense of humor rules, and I have a sense of humor. I love people who do. And I think it's the best tool to diffuse any kind of anger, misunderstanding, or obstacle.
I agree. Love that. That's a great story. Okay. Is there anything you wish you had learned earlier in your life or career?
Anything
at all?
That's a great question. One of the things that I should have known, and I wish I had known, was that when you start your own business, I thought, well, it's going to take me a number of years to build this. But once I build it and I get known, people are going to be calling me and knocking on my door. Well, that isn't the way it is. You have to constantly be marketing and selling yourself. And I really thought after a certain point that people would be knocking on my door. And instead, I'm still knocking on a lot of doors.
I'm experiencing that with my book. I just wrote a book and published it in February. And my husband reminds me too. He's like, people aren't, and everyone I've talked to that's written a book or knows about writing books has said the same thing. Like, you have to talk about it every day if you want people to know about it. No one's going to be like, hey, Julie, did you happen to write a book? Tell me about it. No one's going to do that. And no one's going to be as excited to talk about it as you are, of course, and your message and getting it out there. And I knew that, but it's true. It's really hard. And when you do start to talk about it and try to reach out to people, there's very few people that actually reply to you. You have to be very diligent, persistent, following up, because it's like
just like in anything.
In anything. Yes. Yes.
And my second book, by the way, is called The Speaker Author: Sell More Books and Book More Speeches. And it's for mere mortals who are trying to sell a lot of books. And so I give a lot of tips in there about selling, but you're absolutely right. Until we bring it to their attention, they're not going to know. You see New York Times bestseller list, and the people who are now on that list are people who have been on it before. Those are the only people getting big contracts now for books, are people who already have a track record of having a New York Times bestseller. Yep. So the rest of us mere mortals have to use other tactics in order to get and keep our book in front of people. And speaking is a great way to promote a book.
Yeah. It's a great, I'm not surprised. I heard all this, but it really does also make you realize how important it is to be passionate about the thing that you're selling.
Oh, absolutely right. Great point.
You wouldn't want to talk about it every day. And if you did try to talk about it every day and you weren't passionate about it, no one's buying it, your idea or your thing or your book or whatever, because you're like, I don't even know about you, but the way you're talking about it is, why would I be excited about it? You're not even excited about it. So
and it's really the same way with your body of work. When you're in a situation like I am, if I'm not excited about what I do, people aren't going to want to work with me. My good fortune is I still absolutely love what I do. And I have a little bit more breathing room at this point in my career than I did when I started out. I mean, I was pedaling the bike at 100 miles an hour every day. Yeah. But I absolutely love what I do. And I think that has been a big part of my success that I've had, is that I genuinely do like what I do. And when you do that, working is not as much of a burden as it can be if you're going someplace that you don't want to go to every day.
Yes, agreed. And it's better in so many other ways for your life, but your health, your mental health, your physical health, not liking what you're doing at 100 miles an hour every day is really detrimental.
Well, and your kids, I think that we model for our children through the way we live our lives. And I remember with my daughter, when I decided to try this business, I remember telling her, I'm going to try this. I don't know whether it will work or not. If it doesn't work, that's okay too. Right. At least I know I've tried it, and I'll go work for somebody else, which I've done all the time.
Yep.
And so you learn to take chances and to follow dreams and to try things out. And I have seen her spread her wings professionally in asking for some things that she wanted. And it's worked out really well for her. So go figure.
That's nice to see too, that you're modeling it and they're learning it. And especially our younger son's the same way. There are 5 years difference between our boys, but the younger one has been able to see me. I worked from home a lot more when he was younger than the older one. And just see my career, see me talk, listen to me talk about it, watch me work, ask me questions. And he's, and I'm always saying how important it is to love what you do and all of that stuff. So it's fun.
That's a gift that you're giving your children.
I agree. That's why I'm doing this podcast, so that I can have 100 conversations of talking to people from all walks of life to say, it is possible. Here's proof.
I think that I really admire what you're doing, because I have to say, personally, who knew that I could make a living doing this? Who knew there was an industry of people who wanted my expertise in sales and marketing? These are things we learn as we go along. And sometimes by accident, we learn these things. And then it's a matter of just taking advantage of these opportunities when you can, and thinking, how can I create the kind of business that I will love going to every day? And I will like the people who I work with, typically really love the people that I work with. It's a real blessing when you can do that. There are too many people who can't do that. So to be able to really enjoy and embrace what you do is a real gift.
It's a real gift. It's a blessing. And to me, in my perfect world, it's a dream that I wish everyone would have.
Me too.
Because I think our planet would just be so much better if people weren't thinking like, all right, I guess I have to go to work. I'm gonna
Exactly
hate it.
right.
It doesn't really matter what I'm doing. It's gonna suck either way. It's like, that's not true. That's not true.
And part of it is willingness to take a risk and take a chance and to fail. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with taking a chance and having it not work out. I decided I did not want to live with regret all of my life, thinking I should have tried that. If that would have worked out, that could have been really cool. Yep. I just said, I'm going to try it. Yep. And if it doesn't work out, I'll do something else.
It's perfect. It's so important. And I've never talked to one person that didn't say, oh yeah, everything I tried just worked out perfectly. I never had to take
That's right.
Turn. No, you tried
That's
it.
Right.
Or, you were going to stay home. You tried to stay home and not work. And this guy's like, come on over here with me. No, really, I don't want to. No, I think we should. It's like, that thing wasn't right for you. And if he never pushed you, you might not have had this business that you love.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I absolutely wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay. I have one final question for you. You have to brag a little bit for this. What's the greatest gift you give the world every day that you offer every day, you, Lois?
In all humility.
It's hard to be humble.
It is hard to answer that, but it's a good question, Julie. Yeah. You don't make this easy.
Oh.
I think that I offer to my clients, my friends, and my family a positive attitude. I am the cup is half full kind of girl. I believe that every day I wake up, I make a concerted decision on how I'm going to live in this world. And I choose to live in this world, being joyful and enjoying what I do and living my life so that I can continue doing that for my family and my clients. Yeah. And that was one of those lessons I'm really glad my daughter picked up, that optimistic nature of be willing to take a risk and try it. Always ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And it's probably not the worst that could happen when it comes down to it. You're right. And so that's one of the things that I think, plus I really love what I do. So for my clients, I am optimistic and I embrace what I do. And I'm very, very, I always say I'm not a happy talker, Julie. I'm very real with my clients about what is doable and what isn't doable. Right. And in saying, communicating, just like I did a little while ago with you, that this is not an easy business, but there are ways to make it easier.
And that's what you're here for. I love it. And I think I want to say a final comment about what you just shared is that it's a choice. You're choosing every day to wake up.
Absolutely.
To be positive.
Yes.
It's not just like, oh, I am, it's like, no, if you don't feel it, you can still choose something else to get you to feel that way. It is a choice. Everyone has the same choice. If you're feeling negative, what are you doing in your life to bring that negativity?
Exactly right.
Every day. All of those
exactly
things,
right.
They all contribute to your happiness and your positive outcome. And if you're not positive, there's a reason for it. Figure out what that is.
You've contributed to my positivity today. I can tell you're a very positive person, but I do believe that there are choices that we make in life, and some of them are very fundamental. And so choosing to be happy and joyful it's a choice. It doesn't mean that bad things don't happen or that that people won't have bad moments. It just means that for what I can control, that's the way I'm going to live in this world.
Love it. Thank you. All right. So how can people tell me you have 2 books, say the names of your books again. I'm going to get the one. And then if people want to work with you and all of that stuff.
Actually, the best way to find out anything about me is to go to my website, which is bookmorebusiness.com. Okay. Bookmorebusiness.com. And I have written a book called Book More Business, Make Money Speaking, which is it's my business in a book. It's on Amazon. And the second one, the one that I mentioned a little earlier, the speaker author, Sell More Books and Book More Speeches. And both of those have done really well for me. And I'm considering updating Make Money Speaking, but I'm just not there yet. I'm not there yet. But you can see You can read about those books on my website. You can read sign up for my blog and see how I work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I thank you for your positive attitude and your comments. I wrote down a lot of great notes, and I can't wait to share your story with people to inspire them. That's what this is all about. And thanks for being proof that it's possible, no matter who you are, no matter what your life is like, it's possible. So thanks for being one of those shiny examples for everyone.
Well, I think you are too. Thank you for being you and the honor of being with you today. I appreciate
it. Thank you. I enjoyed our time together. I really appreciate it. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.